This video demonstrates sequence buttons in MediaShow. Once you have a button set loaded, to create a sequence button, select Edit and then an available button in your button set. Here I'll select number 6 and then select Sequence from the Media options. You'll be taken to the Media folder by default, and I'm going to choose from the installed samples and go into the Samples folder and then Sample Sequence. Here you'll see a sequence of 10 images numbered sequentially. And I'm going to choose the folder. Note that the images are grayed out because we're not choosing individual files. We're going to choose just the folder sample sequence, and then the first image automatically loads in the background. To demonstrate this, I'm going to use the slider and step through the images one at a time. So you can see we have 10 images here that are playing in the order they are named in the folder. Now, while editing, we have some of the basic options that we had with images. We have zoom, and by default it's set to fit to window, which is the largest it will display to fill the display window. If we change that to one of the options below the line here, to image center for instance, we can then zoom or rotate and change those settings as we learned in the image button demo, or we can nudge the image up and down or recenter, depending on if we need to shift images based on how we save them and if they're not showing up well in a given planetarium setting or other setting. So I'm going to return this to fit to window and talk about the new setting for sequences, which is image delay. This is the number of seconds each image is on screen before it transitions with a simple fade. It can be set from 1 to 90 seconds. Here, if it's set to 10, I'll demonstrate by a test play, and you'll see that the timer will run up to 10 seconds, and then the image will transition from image 1 to image 2. This will continue to the end of the sequence, at which point the sequence button will be complete and it will either advance to the next button or automatic playback will stop. You have another option here called audio file. And the files that will be in this menu are the ones that you put into the audio folder in your media folder. So if we look in our MediaShow media folder, there's an audio folder, and then there, with the sample installation, is a Hubble sequence audio sample file. And that's the one that's available here in the menu, and the other option is, of course, none to remove any audio. So if I select this audio, what this simply means is this audio file will play in the background as the images transition. If, for instance, there are 3 presets that we can choose that are similar to ones for video buttons. One is Autoplay, and that simply refers to if playing buttons in a series, if one button ends, a sequence or a video button, and the next button is set to Autoplay, that next button will begin automatically. Here by default, all my buttons are set to Autoplay. You also have the option to loop. Notice that loop changes on and off when you change the preset. You can always toggle that live when you're in playback if you don't like the setting. And then a new one called sync. What sync does is it takes the total length of the audio file and creates a new image delay time based on the audio. This audio file is 30 seconds long. If I hit sync, the image delay changes to 2 seconds. It's only an integer here. It's a little longer than 2 because there are 10 images, 2 seconds apiece, and then there is a transition of fade in and out that has to be accounted for. So each image will be on screen a little over 2 seconds. And I can demonstrate that here. Now you'll hear the audio playing in the background, and the images are transitioning every 2 and some change seconds. So once you have all your settings the way you like them, there are 2 other things you can change. Of course, you can rename your button. So I might call this My Sample Sequence. And you can also set an icon. And you can choose an image from the sequence. So I might pick, let's say, there's one. Select Set Icon. The image changes. And the last thing to do is to save your button or save your button set, which automatically saves your button. Since I'm set to autoplay, it's going to automatically play on its own. In playback mode, you have control over the slider which you can jump immediately to an image that you want to. You can step. You can rewind, obviously play and pause. And you can toggle the loop on and off. And lastly, you can control the volume of your audio if you have an audio file playing, either mute or set it to whatever volume level you're comfortable with. And that is how you create sequence buttons in MediaShow.